What's up, dorks? Season 3, Episode 5 of The Boys is showing why The Boys is just carrying the Amazon Prime app right now. Even with a less action-packed episode, we're still getting some of the best character development from all of these characters. Dallas, what did you think of this episode?
I think this, even with the first 4 episodes, I think this one is my favorite. And I mean that. Which is weird to say in a show where it feels like you kind of could say this every episode, but for me, it feels very much now like the gloves are off. Again, not a super action packed episode. That's fine with me because what we didn't get in a bunch of gory fight scenes, we got in crazy setups, I feel like. Billy the Butcher continues to be the hardest character in fiction. Homelander is a fucking 12-year-old and is becoming less and less stable by the day, and I love it. The thing with Homelander that I've really loved in this episode is that he now has everything that he wants. Total unfiltered control, universal adoration while also getting to sort of be himself in a sense. But I think you could argue a big idea of his character is that he has no idea who he actually is. He gets to drop the performative Jesus act now and is leaning more into like a more assertive kind of role that's really resonating with a lot of weird white dudes on the computer out there. But it's interesting to see him now surrounded by people who are genuine business professionals, because a big part of the first season in particular was Homelander saying, I know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm smart. But in a boardroom meeting, when confronted by an actual market research question, he freezes up and immediately lashes out. A big part of this episode and him is him questioning, why do I not feel in charge? He's such an interesting character in the sense that he wants to be universally adored. Is the shittiest person of all time. Like, he's very much aware that he's a piece of shit. By the way, quick insert here. Fucking Ashley being made CEO, criminal. I would give her every award. I've never hated a person more in fiction, maybe in my life. But to see Homelander trip and fumble through this corporate world while having essentially everything he wants and still being unsatisfied, I think it's pushing him over the edge. We're leaning into a direction where he's going to eventually realize he just wants to kill everyone.
Oh yeah, you'll have that moment with Homelander where he will eventually realize that it'll never be enough and that his image isn't what he wants, or maybe the true power that he's feeling is just to actually dominate people. And if we do get a moment where Homelander is just at his lowest low and he finally breaks in front of the public eye, we could see some really scary things happen right there. And honestly, if you had Homelander versus maybe Soulja Boy and it was televised on TV and people saw how Soups really went down and dirty, you could have a totally different perception of Soups where you almost have like a Marvel Civil War type of thing where it's like,
Yeah.
actually, we need regulations on heroes because that's scary. I think what's special about Soulja Boy is it seems like in the past, he was regarded as a very, very popular hero. Eventually, it will come to be known that Soulja Boy is alive. And when the media picks up on that, it's going to be all that the media talks about, to the point where it's possible that even Vought, Homelander and Ashley, even though they're kind of running the company in their little half-ass way, even they would have to acknowledge the return of Soulja Boy being like the original Vought star, and that would probably really, really piss off Homelander.
I think Soulja Boy could, if you wanted to, make the argument. The only reason you exist is because they lost me. Let's get one thing straight. I'm still here. You don't exist. You are a sub in. You're a second string. You're JV. I think you could say all these things to Homelander, which I think would push Homelander over the edge. Soulja Boy is an interesting dynamic in this show so far, though, because one, massively powerful. Like, I think if we're talking about just sheer ability to destroy things, I think second to only Homelander, really. But despite him not being too vocal or too talkative, it feels like he's in control in a lot of ways. Like, he can really write his own ticket here. Watching Mother's Milk see the destruction he caused on television was one of my favorite scenes, because is the only character, I don't want to say the only, but I think he's the main character of our guys in which there's something tangible that he can return to. It's not a hope or a dream or an idea, something genuinely tangible. Could stop today and live out his life with his family, at least his daughter, and maybe one day his wife as well, if possible. And to see Butcher shit on that essentially and betray crazy to me. Butcher knows no bounds at this point. He's genuinely willing to do anything.
We see him. He's getting another shipment of Compound V from Maeve, and Maeve's like, "Oh, I thought you didn't like Soups. I thought you didn't like this shit, but here you are doing this shit again." And then he not only does that, but he also fucks Homelander's ex-girlfriend, getting a little bit of revenge with Maeve. I mean, we're talking about Butcher is out here doing his A game with a Soup, and he would probably never mess with a Soup under different circumstances, but maybe he's turning around on the Soup hate.
The conversation with Maeve was, not only did it say a lot about Butcher as a character in terms of his idea of Soups and everything, but Butcher's willingness to talk shit to a Soup while in the presence of a suit. 10 out of 10. Maeve could definitely snap Billy like a twig. And he's like, make no mistake, none of you should fucking exist. Shit goes my way, takes a swig, dog. Take that to the head real quick. You won't be here either. Make no mistake. Him hooking up with Maeve was wild to me because it's like, I don't know if Butcher's capable of actually having, I know for a fact he's not capable of doing like an actual relationship or anything like that at this point. But is it possible he develops a kinship with Maeve? Is that possible?
If Maeve doesn't end up dying from whatever is about to happen with her getting kidnapped by Black Noir and Homelander, MM's usually the guy that holds the team together. Well, Butcher roofing MM
Yeah.
at the end there to ensure that no line was drawn so that Butcher could get what he needs done. I think the boys are in a really dangerous state right now. I think this is the most fractured the team's been in a way because you have Frenchie and Kimiko considering if they even want to do this anymore. Kimiko doesn't even have powers anymore. MM's over here trying to get like his last ride, right? And Butcher just has nothing to live for. But Huey's also in this new political standpoint where he's like, I'm working with Congress, but I also got powers now.
Frenchie and Kimiko I thought that was one of the more interesting parts of the episode because of how far removed they were from everything. They are quite literally in their own world. And like they are both such fucked up individuals, but they deserve each other. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like it's nice to see them have some moment of reprieve from just piss and shit that they go through on a daily basis. Kimiko is surprised when she realizes that she no longer has powers. You think that would be a damning kind of sentence for the boys because she's been the powerhouse throughout, but you can't help but feel like genuine joy for her because we're reminded, because it's kind of hard to remember when you see Huey getting so stoked on the Compound V and Butcher using it so willingly. Powers aren't necessarily a good thing. Kimiko did not want her powers. For them to have that moment in that little musical dance number, by the way, it's just I loved it. The kiss that we've kind of been waiting on. Frenchie walks out seemingly on cloud. I'm like, oh, wait, listen, Frenchie did it. We're about to get out of here, about to defect from the group. Fuck this, normal life. Because they truly have no more skin in the game. It was sad to see when he walked out, Nina and her henchmen waiting for him. We really don't know what the deal is with him.
I think Frenchie has a really good arc in his own way. I think he's very separated from the boys this season intentionally with Kimiko. It feels like they've been distant. You know, Frenchie doesn't have any stake in the game when it comes to Soldier Boy. You have Nina trying to pull him back in. You might have a call to action with Kimiko where she has to get her powers back in some degree in order to save Frenchie. She has to realize that even though she would rather not have powers, she might have to have powers or else Frenchie's going to die.
But Huey's path is very concerning to me because I think we're starting to see that Huey's morals may not have actually been morals, but more so I'm just afraid. I mean, that was his role, right? The canary, the moral compass of the group. And now he's getting shaky, man. He got a taste of the powers. There seems to be a complex between him and Starlight about the sort of protector role. He said like 20 times the past 4 episodes, let me protect you. Let me take care of you for once. That seems to be something that's really agging at him. It seems like he will, at this point, do anything to quote unquote protect Starlight, which I think is code for prove to myself I'm not a pussy.
And I think the big thing about Huey being the canary for Butcher is he does see Huey going down this horrible road, the same road that Butcher's going down. So Butcher knows that he's directly influencing Huey to fuck up his life in a way. Butcher can't stop what he's doing. Like he almost knows that the greater good of whatever the outcome of this is what needs to be done. It doesn't matter how we get there, but you also have flashes of Butcher's little brother all throughout this episode and throughout this season. There's random little like one frame scenes of Butcher seeing his actual brother through Huey. If literally anything haunts Butcher more than anything, I think it's that his brother died. That was the first domino in Butcher's life that really said it, like there was nobody holding him back anymore. But now Huey is doing his own thing, and Butcher says, well, he's a grown lad, he can do what he wants. And I think that's just Butcher's way of like pushing the blame onto Huey, like it's not my fault, he's doing it.
He doesn't want to take accountability for it. Huey, and MM visit the legend. Greenlit all those movies, covered up a million things apparently, including the murder of MM's family. Even he looked at Billy the Butcher and said, this man destroys everything and everyone that comes into his life. But there's just something about his lifestyle and his need to do something, whatever that may be, where he just can't help but bring people along for the ride. And I think that Huey is a big metaphor for when we look at the way Huey started, a pussy. Let's be frank, but an innocent kid to now where he's at now, just thirsting over some just just fiending for some Compound V. Yeah, I definitely think those small flashbacks to his brother Lenny mean a lot, and I think we'll learn more about that as the season progresses. But sometimes I wonder with this character, like, is Billy the Butcher the shitty one, or is everyone else lying to themselves a little bit?
The worst part is say what you want about Butcher, but he's right. If you actually look at where we are in this season, we have Homelander at the top of his game, but also he's at the point where he can't get any higher. He's about to fall. Everything that he's on is about to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Butcher knows this. Butcher knows he's right there, but not only does Butcher know that Homelander's he's like this close to being taken down, but now Butcher has powers. He has someone that can take Homelander's powers. Like there is a domino effect of greatness that is happening while at the midst of all this, the boys are crumbling. With the introduction of Soldier Boy, I think what's interesting with him is like you said, he has such a commanding presence. We
Mm-hmm.
don't really know what his personality is when he comes and he visits the legend. It seems like him and the legend had some like personal history there. They dapped each other up. So when the boys roll up to Crimson Countess and she's like, "Wait, he's coming. He's
Yeah,
alive. I got to get out of here." And
yeah,
you start to realize, whoa, maybe Soldier Boy he got played. Maybe he's not actually a bad guy. Maybe he is going to be this very neutral in the middle of like he's a suit, but he's also not a bad guy. But obviously he has no qualms straight up frying somebody because he
yeah.
goes off like an atom bomb and completely fries her.
By the way, just cooks the Crimson Countess as soon as he walks in. She's like, "You look so young." He's like, "You don't, you raggedy bitch." Like, just slays her off right there. He spoke to Crimson Countess and said several times that he genuinely loved her. I mean, this man was hurt. I don't think we've seen that in the boys thus far. A hero who actually loves another hero in a genuine way.
I wasn't expecting a Soldier Boy to roll in and have that display of emotion, especially because, for all we know, he's a bad guy. He's over here blowing up buildings. He's blowing up
Mm-hmm.
Kimiko. We see that he was experimented on by the Russians and that he's just over here getting punctured in the eye and he's blowing up Geiger counters and stuff. The biggest tell of he's a genuine dude was when he was like, "I was going through torture and I was sitting there waiting on you to come save me. You never showed up. That is the only thing that got me through that shit. And you never showed up. And now
Yeah.
I'm here to see what the hell happened. And I find out that you actually sold me to the Russians. It's blown up time."
Oh, you're get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you're done. You're fried.
Even the fact that he just walks away from the wreckage and looks at Butcher, and Butcher's like, "I tied this bitch up in here. We're gonna be a great team if you want to do what we call a team up." Well, imagine
Mhm.
if you do take Homelander's abilities away, but they don't kill Homelander, but he's still the leader of the Seven, or he's still the CEO of Vought. Remember what Edgar tells Starlight is real power is having all this control. Real power is having advertising and owning this company. This is what real power is.
I think even Starlight would immediately kill Homelander if he lost his powers. Well, I actually think he would absolutely commit suicide if he lost his powers.
And I think we have something really great looking forward to what they're going to do with Maeve, how that's going to like play out with Homelander and Black Noir. Is Maeve not part of the Seven anymore? Are they going to try to kill Maeve? Is it going to become a rescue mission? Is Maeve going to join the boys? Like it
Yeah.
seems like they kind of have their own little redemption arc going for Maeve right now, where out of everybody in the Seven, she's the only one that's actually trying to change. I mean, even A Train with the Blue Hawk situation totally backfired in his face. His brother's now paralyzed because Blue Hawk's just out here being the worst type of suit.
But his arc is becoming so much more interesting because it's only now when he does not have powers is he actually considering whether or not he should be doing something that would actually save people. I think there's something to be said about the moment he's unable to run, and he's now trying to get Blue Hawk to apologize. He's now thinking about his community and what his role in all of this is. For him to even ask Blue Hawk to do that, for him to even make a conscious effort, even though it was set up by Ashley and kind of like this weird corporate thing. Once again, fuck Ashley forever. For him to even do that, I think says a lot about where he's heading as a character. Starlight confronted him on him tattletelling to Homelander about the little coup d'etat they were thinking about throwing. And she said, "Why so badly do you want to be a part of a group of people who don't want you?" And I think that really, really hit A-Train in a profound way. And I think what happened with Blue Hawk, with the Soup's Life Matter thing and everything, I think he looked at the consequences, not necessarily of his decisions, but the byproduct of the group of people that he was a part of. Like, you cannot be a part of Vought and then separate yourself from Blue Hawk. I think now that his brother's injured, I mean, Blue Hawk was in there just fucking hate crime after hate crime. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with his character because I think it's so cool what they're doing with him. It's just like, Now you want to be a hero when you literally cannot be. I think Huey walking away from Starlight is the biggest moment of his character. But when Starlight explains, I don't need you to protect me, I just need you, and then Huey still leaves, it's not about her. It's all about Huey. I think if the Soups wanted to have any counterpoint to Huey and Butcher and company, it is well, you just pretend the way that we pretend to be a good guy with ulterior motives. One could argue you guys are doing the same thing. Ours are financially motivated. I mean, like, I think Homelander could really drop some bars on them and be like, you're all just sad little men raging against your own helplessness.
I think this episode, like we said, even though not as action packed, I think the character development of each character and where it sets each one of them up, Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Huey are probably going straight for Homelander's head, possibly saving Maeve. If you made it this far in the video, we know you liked it, so go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to join that next gen console giveaway because you don't want to miss any of our other boys reviews and any other dorky content that you might miss. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.